My son spoke to me rudely. His teacher revealed the real reason. Welcome, this is Voice of Deborah and I share true life stories. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 42 years old, and I've been a single mother for the past 7 years. When my son Daniel turned 13 this past spring, something in him changed overnight. The sweet boy who used to help me fold laundry while we watched cooking shows together became someone I didn't recognize. Started small. Roles. Muttered comments. But that Tuesday morning in late September, everything shattered. "You're such a liar," Daniel screamed at me across our kitchen table. His face twisted with a rage I'd never seen before. "You've been lying to me my whole life." I stood there, coffee mug frozen halfway to my lips, feeling like someone had just punched me in the chest. "Daniel, what are you?" "Don't." He slammed his hand on the table so hard the salt shaker fell over. "Just don't. I know the truth now. I finally know everything." My heart hammered against my ribs. What truth? What could he possibly be talking about? I'd never lied to my son about anything important. Sure, I'd kept the details of his father's abandonment gentle, age-appropriate, but lies? Never. "Sweetheart, please calm down and tell me what's wrong." "Stop calling me that." His voice cracked, tears streaming down his face now. "You don't get to pretend anymore. Hate you. I hate you so much." Those words hit me like physical blows. I reached for him, but he jerked away as if my touch burned him. "Daniel, stay away from me." He grabbed his backpack and ran out the door, slamming it so hard the frame shook. I stood in my kitchen, alone, trembling, with no idea what had just destroyed my relationship with my only child. But I was about to find out that this was just the beginning. The rest of that day passed in a fog. I called Daniel's phone 17 times. Each call went straight to voicemail. I texted him, begging him to talk to me, to tell me what was wrong. Nothing. By 3 o'clock, when school let out, I was parked outside Riverside Middle School waiting. I watched the flood of students pour out of the building, searching for my son's familiar blue jacket and shaggy brown hair. He emerged with a group of boys I didn't recognize. Older kids, maybe 8th or 9th graders. One of them had his arm slung around Daniel's shoulders. They were laughing about something. I got out of the car. "Daniel!" He saw me and his face went dark. He said something to his friends, and they all turned to stare at me. Then Daniel started walking the opposite direction. "Daniel, please." I called after him, jogging to catch up. Several parents turned to watch the scene. I didn't care. "We need to talk about this morning." He spun around, and the look in his eyes made me step back. "There's nothing to talk about. I'm going to Tyler's house." "Tyler? Who's Tyler?" "You need to come home. You can't tell me what to do anymore." His voice was cold, flat, like he was talking to a stranger. "I know my rights. I looked it up. At my age, I can choose where I want to live." The world tilted beneath my feet. "What are you talking about? I'm going to live with Dad." For a moment I forgot how to breathe. "Your father. Daniel, your father left when you were 6. He hasn't paid child support in 3 years. He doesn't. See. More lies." Daniel's laugh was bitter, so wrong coming from my baby's mouth. "He told me you've been keeping us apart, that you poisoned me against him. But he's been trying to see me this whole time." Ice flooded my veins. "He told you? When did you talk to your father?" But Daniel just shook his head and walked away. I stood there in the school parking lot, watching my son disappear around the corner with boys I'd never met, and felt the first real flutter of fear in my chest. What was happening? That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my ex-husband's number. The number I'd kept stored in my phone under Do Not Answer with a red warning emoji. It rang 4 times. Then, well, didn't expect to hear from you." Kevin's voice sent a chill down my spine. Smooth, confident. The same voice that had sweet-talked me into marriage at 23, convinced me to put his name on the deed to my grandmother's house, promised me forever, and then vanished with $30,000 from our joint account when Daniel was barely in 1st grade. "What did you say to him?" I demanded. What lies have you been feeding our son? Kevin laughed. Actually laughed. Lies. That's rich coming from you. I've been trying to reconnect with my boy for months now. He deserves to know his father. You abandoned him. You left us with nothing. That's your version. But Daniel's old enough now to hear the truth. About how you manipulated the custody agreement. How you kept him from me. There is no custody agreement because you never showed up to court. You disappeared. Semantics. I could hear the smile in his voice. Made my skin crawl. Point is, Daniel wants to know me now. And nothing you say is going to keep us apart anymore. If you think I'm going to let you anywhere near him after what you don't have a choice, Sarah. He's coming to live with me. I've already talked to a lawyer. The line went dead. I sat on my couch in the growing darkness, phone still pressed to my ear, and felt something close to panic rising in my throat. But I didn't know yet. I didn't know that Kevin had been planning this for 8 months. I didn't know that he'd been contacting Daniel through a secret social media account since February. And I definitely didn't know that my life was about to be in very real danger. The next morning, Daniel didn't come out of his room. I knocked softly on his door. Honey, you'll be late for school. I'm not going. Daniel, you have to. I said I'm not going. Something crashed inside his room. Just leave me alone. I stood outside his locked door, fighting back tears. This wasn't my son. This angry, hostile stranger wasn't my sweet boy who used to make me Mother's Day cards with crayon drawings of us holding hands. I called the school, told them Daniel was sick. It wasn't a lie. Something was terribly sick in my house, even if it wasn't a physical illness. Around noon, I was sitting at my kitchen table trying to figure out my next move when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello, Mrs. Mitchell. This is Deborah Patterson. I'm Daniel's English teacher at Riverside. Oh yes. Hi. I straightened up. Is everything okay? Well. She paused. I heard Daniel was absent today. I wanted to reach out because I've been concerned about some changes in his behavior lately. My heart started pounding. What kind of changes? He's been very distracted. His grades have dropped significantly over the past month. And yesterday, I noticed something that worried me. What? He was looking at what appeared to be legal documents during class. When I asked him about it, he got very defensive and said it was none of my business. But before he put it away, I saw it was something about emancipation. The room spun. Emancipation. He's 13 years old. I know. That's why I'm calling. Mrs. Mitchell, has something happened at home? Some kind of family disruption. I found myself telling her everything. The fight. Kevin's reappearance. Daniel's accusations. The words poured out of me in a desperate rush. Mrs. Patterson listened in silence. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Mrs. Mitchell, I need to tell you something. But you have to promise not to react immediately. About 3 weeks ago, I saw Daniel getting into a car after school. A silver BMW. The driver was a man, maybe late 40s. He seemed very familiar with Daniel. Kevin drove a silver BMW. I'd seen it on his social media, during one of my weak moments when I'd looked him up to see what kind of life he was living while we struggled. Did you tell anyone? I whispered. I mentioned it to Principal Hoffman. But without proof of anything inappropriate, there wasn't much she could do. And when she called Daniel in to ask about it, he said it was just his friend Tyler's dad giving him a ride. Tyler again. The mysterious friend I'd never heard of until yesterday. Mrs. Patterson, I'm scared. The admission came out broken. I don't know what's happening. I think you need to talk to someone. A lawyer maybe. Before this goes any further. Lawyer. The thought made my stomach turn. I was already stretched so thin financially. But Mrs. Patterson was right. There's something else, Mrs. Patterson said, her voice dropping lower. Something I probably shouldn't tell you, but I think you need to know. What? This morning, before I knew Daniel was absent, I found something in my classroom. Notebook. Daniel's notebook, actually. He must have left it behind yesterday. I was going to put it in the lost and found, but it fell open and I saw. Mrs. Mitchell, he's been writing things. About you. My mouth went dry. What kind of things? Angry things. Accusations. But here's what worries me most. Some of the handwriting isn't his. There are notes in the margins, in different handwriting. Adult handwriting. Encouraging him. Telling him he's right to be angry. Feeding his rage. Kevin. Kevin had been writing in my son's notebook. Manipulating him, coaching him, turning him against me line by line. Mrs. Patterson, can I see it? The notebook. I'm not supposed to share student property, but... Yes. Think you should see it. Can you come to the school? I'm here until 4 preparing for parent-teacher conferences. I'll be there in 20 minutes. After I hung up, I went to Daniel's door. I knocked gently. Daniel. I need to run an errand. I'll be back in an hour. Silence. I love you, honey. No matter what's happening, I love you. Still nothing. I grabbed my keys and headed to the school, my heart racing. Maybe the notebook would have answers. Maybe it would show me how to reach my son again. But what I found in that notebook would reveal something far more sinister than manipulation. Mrs. Patterson was waiting for me in her empty classroom. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and worry lines that seemed to have deepened since the last parent-teacher conference I'd attended. "Thank you for coming," she said, closing the door behind me. She pulled Daniel's notebook from her desk drawer. "I need you to understand. I'm breaking protocol by showing you this. But as a mother myself, I couldn't keep this from you." She handed me the spiral-bound notebook. It was Daniel's, definitely. I recognized the Star Wars stickers he'd put on the cover last year, back when things were still normal. I opened it with trembling hands. The first few pages were regular class notes. English assignments. Vocabulary words. Then, about halfway through, the tone changed. "Mom said Dad abandoned us, but that's not true. She's been lying this whole time." My heart clenched. But it was the response written in the margin, in sharp adult handwriting, that made my blood run cold. "She's manipulative. Classic narcissist behavior. You're seeing through her finally." I flipped the page. More of Daniel's writing, angrier now. "She controls everything. Won't let me make my own choices. Treats me like a baby." And underneath, in that same adult handwriting, "You deserve freedom. Remember what we talked about. You have rights." Page after page, the same pattern. Daniel's confused, hurt thoughts, followed by Kevin's poison. But it was what I found near the end that made my hands start to shake. Phase 1 complete, he trusts me now. Phase 2, financial access. Phase 3, the house. Remember, make her think she's losing her mind. That's key. This wasn't Kevin's handwriting. It was someone else's. Someone with neater, more deliberate script. "Mrs. Patterson," I whispered. "Who else has been around Daniel? Besides this Tyler and his father? There's a new student teacher who started about 2 months ago. Blake Hoffman. He's Principal Hoffman's nephew. She got him the placement for his education degree. He's been particularly attentive to some of the students, including Daniel." "What does he look like?" "Late 20s. Tall blonde hair. Drives a..." She paused. "Actually, I don't know what he drives. But I had a terrible suspicion I knew exactly who Blake Hoffman was." I pulled out my phone and searched Kevin's social media, scrolling back through months of posts until I found what I was looking for. Photo from 3 months ago. Kevin at a bar with his arm around a younger man. The caption read, "My boy Blake, killing it in his new teaching gig. So proud. #family. My boy Blake." I turned the phone to Mrs. Patterson. "Is this him?" Her face went pale. "Yes, that's Blake." "Mrs. Mitchell, are you saying he's related to your ex-husband?" "He's Kevin's stepson from his second marriage." The pieces were clicking into place with horrifying clarity. Kevin's been planning this. using Blake to get close to Daniel at school, manipulating him, poisoning him against me. But why? Kevin had never wanted to be a father. He'd made that clear when he abandoned us. So why come back now? Why go through all this effort? The answer hit me like a freight train. The house. My grandmother's house, worth almost $500,000 in today's market. The house I'd inherited. The house Kevin had tried to claim in the divorce but failed because my lawyer had been thorough. Or had she? Mrs. Patterson, I need to make some calls. Thank you for showing me this. You might have just saved my life. Her eyes widened. Your life. Mrs. Mitchell, should I call the police? Not yet. I need to understand what I'm dealing with first. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. When I pulled into my driveway, I saw something that made my heart stop. A silver BMW was parked across the street. Kevin was watching my house. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring at that BMW. Every instinct screamed at me to drive away, to go to the police, to do something. But I needed to get to Daniel. He was still inside. I got out of my car slowly, keeping my phone in my hand with 911 ready to dial. As I walked toward my front door, the BMW's engine started. Kevin pulled up beside me, rolling down his window. Close, he looked older than I remembered. Harder. There was something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Something cold and calculating. Nice to see you, Sarah. Get away from my house. It's my house too. Technically. He smiled. Didn't your lawyer tell you? Oh wait, she wouldn't have known. See, there was a little issue with the divorce paperwork. The quitclaim deed never got filed properly with the county. Clerical error. Happens all the time. My stomach dropped. That's not possible. I saw the signed documents. Signed, yes. Filed with the county recorder's office. Well, which means legally speaking I still own half of this property. And if something were to happen to you, let's say an accident, well, Daniel would inherit your half. And as his father and guardian, I'd manage that inheritance until he turns 18. The world seemed to tilt sideways. You're talking about killing me. Kevin's smile never wavered. I'm talking about hypotheticals. People have accidents all the time, Sarah. House fires, car crashes, random break-ins gone wrong. Daniel would never forgive you. Daniel thinks you're a liar and a manipulator who kept him from his loving father. Blake's done excellent work there. The kid practically hates you already. If something happened to you now, he'd be sad, sure, but he'd get over it. Kids are resilient. I was going to throw up. This man, the father of my child, was casually discussing murdering me. You won't get away with this. I already have. Kevin put his car in drive. See you around, Sarah. Be careful. It's a dangerous world out there. He drove away, leaving me standing on my lawn, shaking so hard I could barely stand. I stumbled into my house and went straight to Daniel's room. Pounded on the door. Daniel, open this door right now. Go away. Daniel, please. Your father is dangerous. He's planning to hurt me. You're in danger too. The door flew open. Daniel stood there, his face red with fury. You're insane. You're making things up to turn me against him. No, baby, listen to me. He told me you'd do this. He told me you'd try to make him sound dangerous when you're the one who's been lying all along. He showed me proof, Mom. Court documents showing how you manipulated the custody case. Evidence that you've been keeping us apart. Those documents are fake. Daniel, please. No. He stepped back. Blake explained it all to me. He said you're a textbook manipulator and that you try to make Dad sound crazy when really you're the one who. Blake is Kevin's stepson. He's been lying to you. Daniel froze. For just a second, I saw doubt flicker across his face. Then his phone buzzed. He looked down at it, read something, and his expression hardened again. Nice try. I'm not falling for your lies anymore. He slammed the door. I stood there, feeling utterly helpless. How do you fight against manipulation this thorough? How do you prove you're telling the truth when your child has been convinced that truth itself is a lie? But then I remembered something Mrs. Patterson had said. The notebook wasn't just evidence of manipulation. It was evidence of conspiracy. I drove to my lawyer's office without calling ahead. Janet Rivers had handled my divorce 7 years ago, and I prayed she was still practicing law. The receptionist tried to tell me Janet was in a meeting, but I must have looked desperate enough that she went to check. 5 minutes later, Janet emerged, looking concerned. "Sarah, what's wrong?" I told her everything in her office. The notebook, Kevin's threats, the claim about the deed. I watched her face grow more serious with every word. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Sarah, I need you to stay calm. Can you do that?" "What? Why? Is it true? Did you not file the deed?" "I filed it. I know I filed it. But let me make some calls." She got on the phone with the county recorder's office while I sat there, nails digging into my palms. The conversation seemed to last forever. Finally, Janet hung up. Her face was grim. "There's no record of the filing." The room spun. "How is that possible? Either it was never filed, which I know isn't true because I have my filing receipt, or..." She paused. "Or someone removed it from the records." "Can they do that?" "Not easily. It would require access to the county database, which is supposedly secure. But Sarah, I need to tell you something." He pulled out a file. "I got a call 2 months ago from a man claiming to be from the county recorder's office. He said they were doing an audit of old records and needed to verify some information about your case. I sent him copies of everything: the divorce decree, the property settlement, the deed transfer." "Kevin," I whispered. "Or Blake. One of them impersonated a county official. And now they've used that information to manufacture a crisis. If they removed the original filing and you have no clear paper trail, they could argue there was a clerical error. It would take months, maybe years to sort out legally. Meanwhile, you're vulnerable." "He threatened to kill me, Janet. He said I might have an accident." Janet's expression turned fierce. "Then we go to the police. Right now. And we get a restraining order. This is conspiracy to commit fraud at minimum, and the threats make it worse." "But what about Daniel? He's already been turned against me. If I get the police involved..." "Sarah, this isn't about winning Daniel back right now. This is about staying alive to be there for him later. Because that's what Kevin's counting on, that your love for your son will keep you from protecting yourself." She was right. I knew she was right. But what I didn't know was that going to the police was exactly what Kevin wanted us to do. Detective Raymond Hayes listened to my story with the kind of patient attention that made me think he'd heard similar cases before. We were in a small interview room at the police station, and Janet sat beside me, occasionally adding legal context. "So your ex-husband has threatened you, manipulated your son, and potentially committed fraud regarding property records," Hayes summarized. "And his stepson, who's a student teacher at your son's school, has been actively involved in this manipulation." "Yes, and I think they're planning something worse. Kevin basically told me I was going to have an accident." Hayes nodded slowly. "Here's what I can do. I can bring them both in for questioning. The property fraud is something we can investigate. The manipulation of a minor is trickier legally, but the threats against you are clear. I'll also request a restraining order hearing." "How long will that take?" "The emergency order can be in place by tomorrow. But Mrs. Mitchell, I need to warn you, this will escalate things. When we bring Kevin in, he's going to know you've taken action. You need to be prepared for that." "What do you mean?" Hayes exchanged a look with Janet. "Men like this, who've planned something this elaborate, they often have contingency plans. If he feels cornered, he might accelerate whatever he's planning." Chill ran through me. "So I shouldn't have come here." "No, you absolutely should have. But tonight I don't think you should go home. Is there somewhere else you can stay? Family? Friends?" I thought of my sister in Portland, but that was too far. My friend Rachel had a spare room, but I couldn't put her in danger. "What about Daniel?" "Yes, He's still at the house. How old is your son? 13. Hayes frowned. That's complicated. He's old enough that legally, he has some say in his living situation. If he refuses to leave with you, then I'm supposed to just abandon him. Leave him alone in that house where Kevin could. My voice broke. Janet put her hand on my arm. Sarah, Daniel's 13. Kevin isn't going to hurt him. You're the target. If you remove yourself from the situation, Daniel is safer. But every maternal instinct I had screamed against leaving my son. Hayes must have seen it on my face. Tell you what, let me send a patrol car to do a wellness check. We'll make sure Daniel's okay and let him know that if he needs anything he can call us. But Mrs. Mitchell, you need to not be in that house tonight. Finally agreed. Rachel answered on the third ring and immediately said yes when I asked if I could stay over. She didn't even ask why, just said she'd have the guest room ready. Hayes walked us out of the station. I'll be in touch tomorrow after we bring Kevin in. In the meantime, keep your phone on you at all times. If anything feels wrong, call 911 immediately. As Janet and I walked to our cars, she turned to me. Sarah, I need you to write down everything you remember. Every conversation with Kevin, every detail about Blake, everything in that notebook. We're going to need it. What if this doesn't work? What if they find some legal loophole? Then we'll find another way. But right now we've taken the first step. You're not facing this alone anymore. I drove back to my house one more time to pack a bag. The whole way there, I kept checking my rearview mirror, expecting to see that silver BMW following me. When I pulled into my driveway, the house looked normal, quiet. The evening sun cast long shadows across the lawn. Daniel and I used to play catch-on. I went inside, moving quickly, threw some clothes in a bag, grabbed my laptop, my important documents. I knocked on Daniel's door. I'm staying at Rachel's tonight, I called through the door. There's leftover pasta in the fridge. Please call me if you need anything. Silence. I love you, Daniel. No matter what happens, no matter what anyone tells you, I love you more than anything in this world. I heard movement inside. For a second I thought he might open the door. But then his voice came, muffled and cold. Whatever. That word was a knife to my heart. I left the house, locked the door behind me, and drove to Rachel's. I didn't see the figure watching from the corner of my street. I didn't see Blake Hoffman making a phone call as I drove away. And I didn't know that Kevin's plan was already in motion. Rachel's guest room was comfortable, but I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. Every car passing on the street made me check the window. Around 2 a.m., I gave up and sat in the dark, scrolling through old photos of Daniel on my phone. Daniel at 6, missing his 2 front teeth, grinning at the camera. Daniel at 9, covered in mud from building a fort in the backyard. Daniel at 11, rolling his eyes at my insistence on a back-to-school photo but smiling anyway. When had I lost him? When had Kevin's poison really started to work? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Can't sleep either. My blood ran cold. Who was this? It's eating at you, isn't it? Knowing he hates you now. Knowing you've lost him. Kevin. This was Kevin. Don't bother tracing this. Burner phone. I have lots of them. I should have called the police. Should have forwarded these messages to Detective Hayes. But my fingers were frozen. Another text. By the way, you might want to check your email. Your insurance company sent you something interesting. With shaking hands, I opened my email app. There, sent at 1:47 a.m., was a message from my homeowner's insurance company. Dear Mrs. Mitchell, this notice is to inform you that your homeowner's insurance policy has been cancelled effective immediately due to non-payment. Your account is 90 days past due. I hadn't missed any payments. I paid my insurance religiously every month. This was impossible. I called the 24-hour customer service line. After 20 minutes of being transferred and put on hold, I finally got an agent who could access my account. Mrs. Mitchell, yes, I see here that you requested cancellation of your policy 3 months ago. We have the form on file with your signature. I never requested cancellation. Ma'am, I'm looking at the form right now. It has your signature, your social security number, your date of birth. It's forged. Someone is impersonating me. There was a pause. Mrs. Mitchell, if you're claiming fraud, you'll need to file a police report and dispute this through our fraud department. But I should inform you that the cancellation has already been processed. Your home has been without insurance coverage for 30 days. I hung up and immediately texted the unknown number. What are you doing? The response came instantly. Making sure that when your house burns down, there's no payout. No insurance money to rebuild. No safety net. Just you homeless with nothing. And guess who'll be there to take care of Daniel? Me. My house was going to burn down. That was the plan. Kevin was going to burn down my house with me inside, make it look like an accident, and there would be no insurance to prove otherwise. Even if the police suspected arson, without me alive to push the investigation and without insurance fraud as a motive, they'd have trouble proving anything. And Daniel, my precious Daniel, would go to live with the man planning to murder his mother. I called Detective Hayes. It went straight to voicemail. Of course it did, it was 2 a.m. Detective Hayes, this is Sarah Mitchell. Kevin's planning to burn down my house. He's cancelled my insurance. I have texts from him but they're from a burner phone. Please, you have to send someone to watch my house. Daniel's still there. Please. Then I called 911. 911, what's your emergency? My house. Someone's planning to burn down my house. My son is inside. You need to send someone right now. Ma'am, is there currently a fire? No, but is there an immediate threat happening right now? My ex-husband threatened to burn it down. He's been planning this. Ma'am, I need you to slow down. You're saying your ex-husband made a threat. Have you filed a police report? Yes, I was at the station earlier today. Detective Hayes. And is your son in immediate danger right now? I don't know. That's why I need you to send someone. Ma'am, I'm going to send a unit to do a wellness check. Can you give me the address? I gave her my address, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. Please hurry. Please. A unit is being dispatched. Ma'am, where are you right now? I'm at my friend's house. But my son. The officers will check on your son. Is there someone there who can stay with you? Rachel appeared in the doorway, awakened by my frantic call. I must have looked terrified because she immediately came to sit beside me. Yes, my friend is here. Good. They come. The officers should be there in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Daniel had been alone in that house for 6 hours. What if Kevin had already been there? What if? I couldn't think like that. Rachel, I need to go home. Sarah, no. You heard the 911 operator. The police are going. He's my son. I can't just sit here. I was already grabbing my keys when my phone rang. Unknown number again. Hello. Mrs. Mitchell. A young voice, scared. Not Kevin. Not Blake. Who is this? It's Tyler. Tyler Brennan. I'm the friend Daniel's been staying with sometimes. The one he told you about. My heart nearly stopped. Is Daniel okay? I don't know. That's why I'm calling. He came over earlier tonight, like around 8. He was really upset. Said you guys had another fight and his dad was supposed to pick him up but didn't show. So I said he could crash here. He's at your house. Yeah, but Mrs. Mitchell, something's wrong. He got a text like an hour ago and he freaked out. Started talking about how he needed to get home right away, that something bad was happening. I tried to stop him but he just took off on his bike. And Mrs. Mitchell, I'm really worried because... Because what? Because I saw Mr. Hoffman, Blake, Daniel's student teacher, hanging around outside my house earlier, like he was watching. And that's weird, right? Why would he be here? Everything inside me went cold. Tyler, what's your address? He told me. It was less than a mile from my house. Tyler, you might have just saved Daniel's life. Thank you for calling. I hung up and ran for my car, Rachel right behind me. Sarah, what are you doing? Daniel's heading back to the house on his bike. Kevin and Blake are there. I know they are. Then let the police. There's no time. I was already in my car, engine roaring to life. Rachel jumped in the passenger seat. Then I'm coming with you. But Sarah, if this goes bad. It won't. It can't. I drove faster than I ever had, running 2 red lights, my heart hammering against my ribs. Please let me be in time. Please let Daniel be safe. As I turned onto my street, I saw it. Smoke. Thick, dark smoke pouring from my kitchen window. And there, in the glow of the flames just starting to become visible, was Daniel's bike lying on its side in the driveway. My son was inside that burning house. I didn't think. I just ran. Sarah, no. Rachel was screaming behind me, but I didn't stop. The front door was locked. I fumbled with my keys, dropped them, grabbed them again. The house was filling with smoke fast. I could see it seeping out through the mail slot. Finally, the door opened. A wall of smoke hit me in the face, choking, blinding. Daniel! I screamed. Daniel, where are you? No answer. Just the crackle of flames from somewhere deeper in the house. I dropped to my hands and knees where the air was clearer and crawled toward his bedroom. The smoke alarm was screaming. The heat was intense, getting worse with every second. Daniel! Then I heard it. Cough. Coming from the living room, not his bedroom. I changed direction, crawling toward the sound. My lungs were burning. My eyes streaming with tears. But I could see him now, collapsed on the floor near the couch. Daniel! I reached him, grabbed him under the arms. He was barely conscious, coughing violently. I tried to drag him toward the door, but he was too heavy, and the smoke was too thick, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Then someone was there. A figure in dark clothing, pushing me aside, lifting Daniel in a fireman's carry. Blake Hoffman was carrying my son out of the burning house. I followed them out, stumbling, gasping. We made it to the lawn just as the flames burst through the kitchen window with a roar that sounded like a living thing. Blake laid Daniel on the grass. Rachel was already there with her phone, talking to 911. In the distance, I could hear sirens. I crawled to Daniel, pulling him into my arms. Baby, are you okay? Can you breathe? He coughed violently, sucking in air, his face covered in soot. But he was alive. He was breathing. I looked up at Blake, who stood a few feet away, also coughing. His face unreadable in the flickering light of my burning home. You saved him, I whispered. Blake's expression crumpled. I never thought he'd come back. He was supposed to be at Tyler's. Away from all this. The sirens were closer now. Neighbors were coming out of their houses, drawn by the flames that were now consuming my entire kitchen and spreading toward the living room. What did you do? I asked, my voice hoarse from smoke. Blake, what did you do? Kevin told me it would be empty. He showed me the tracking app. Your location was at your friend's house. Daniel's location was at Tyler's. The house was supposed to be empty. Tears were streaming down Blake's face now. I didn't want to do it. He said if I didn't, he'd tell everyone about the money I took from the school's student activities fund. He said he'd ruin me. So you tried to burn down my house? I started a small fire in the kitchen. Just enough to cause damage, make it look like an electrical problem. It wasn't supposed to spread this fast. Kevin said the insurance was cancelled, that you'd be financially ruined, and then he could. He stopped. Could what? Blake looked at me, and in his eyes I saw genuine horror at what he'd become part of. Could convince you to sign over the house to make it go away. He said you'd be so desperate, so broken that you'd do anything. He said it was just financial pressure, not murder. He promised it wasn't murder. But we both knew that was a lie. 3 fire trucks roared up the street. Paramedics jumped out. One of them knelt beside Daniel while another tried to check me, but I wouldn't let go of my son. Ma'am, I need to make sure he's okay. I'm not letting him go. Mom. Daniel's voice was so small, so scared. Not the angry teenager from this morning, but my little boy. Mom, what happened? Shoo, it's okay. You're safe now. The house. There was so much smoke. I couldn't find you. I thought you were inside. My heart shattered. Even after everything, even after all the poison Kevin had fed him, Daniel had run into a burning house looking for me. Why did you come back? Asked gently. Tyler said you got a text. Daniel pulled out his phone with shaking hands. The screen was cracked but still working. He opened his messages and showed me. It was from Dad. Your mom's in trouble. She went back to the house. You need to get there now. She needs you. Kevin had lured Daniel back. Knowing Blake was setting the fire. Knowing my son would run into danger to save me. Kevin had tried to kill his own child. The rage that filled me then was unlike anything I'd ever felt. But before I could process it, I heard a voice I knew too well. Oh my God, Daniel. Kevin came running across the lawn. His face a perfect mask of horror and concern. Son, are you hurt? What happened? He tried to push past me to get to Daniel, but I stood up, putting myself between them. Don't you dare touch him. Sarah, what are you? He's my son. You did this. My voice came out as a roar. You sent him into a burning house. What? That's insane. I just got here. I saw the smoke from down the street. Liar. Blake's voice cut through the chaos. He stood up, swaying slightly. Tell them the truth, Kevin. Tell them what you planned. Kevin's expression shifted. The mask of concern slipped, and for just a second, I saw the calculation underneath. He was weighing his options, trying to figure out how to spin this. But Detective Hayes was already walking toward us, having arrived with the fire trucks. And behind him were two uniformed officers. Kevin Mitchell, Hayes said calmly. Detective, thank God you're here. My son was nearly killed. Someone set this fire deliberately. Blake Hoffman has already given a statement to the officers. He's confessed to arson. And he's stated that you coerced him into it. Kevin's face went pale. That's absurd. He's lying to save himself. I had nothing to do with. We also have text messages from your burner phone to Mrs. Mitchell, including one sent tonight describing your plans to burn down the house. We've been monitoring your communications since Mrs. Mitchell's call. Hayes smiled, and it wasn't friendly. You might want to remain silent now. Anything you say can and will be used against you. As the officers moved to handcuff Kevin, he looked at Daniel, really looked at him. And in that moment, I saw my son's face transform. The scales fell from his eyes. All the manipulation, all the careful poisoning, it shattered in an instant as Daniel saw his father not as the victim or the hero, but as the monster he really was. You tried to kill me, Daniel whispered. You sent me into the fire. Kevin opened his mouth, but no words came out. What could he possibly say? They led him away to the patrol car. Blake went in another car, head down, defeated. And I sat back down on the lawn with my son in my arms, watching my house burn, and felt something strange. Relief. It was over. The next few hours were a blur. The fire department managed to save most of the house. The kitchen was destroyed, and there was significant smoke damage throughout, but the structure was sound. Daniel and I were both treated for smoke inhalation and released from the hospital around dawn. We went back to Rachel's house, exhausted and reeking of smoke. Daniel fell asleep almost immediately on the couch, and I sat watching him breathe, unable to look away. Mrs. Patterson called around 8 in the morning. She'd heard about the fire from Principal Hoffman, who was devastated about her nephew's arrest. Sarah, I'm so sorry. If I'd known Blake was involved. You couldn't have known. None of us did. How's Daniel? I looked at my sleeping son. Shaken. Confused. But alive. When he's ready, when you're both ready, I'd like to talk to him. Help him process what happened. Sometimes it helps to have a neutral person. Thank you. I think he'll need that. After I hung up, Daniel stirred and opened his eyes. For a moment he just looked at me. Then his face crumpled and he started to cry. I moved to the couch and pulled him close. It's okay. Let it out. I'm sorry, he sobbed. Mom, I'm so sorry. I believed him. I believed everything he said about you. And you almost died because of me. No. I pulled back to look at him. You listened to me, Daniel Mitchell. None of this was your fault. Your father is a master manipulator. He fooled me too, remember? When I married him. When I trusted him. He knew exactly what to say, exactly how to make you doubt me. But I was so mean to you. I said I hated you. You were being manipulated by someone who was supposed to love you. Someone who was supposed to protect you. The fact that he could twist you like that, that's on him, not you. How did you know? How did you figure it out? I told him about Mrs. Patterson finding the notebook, about the bank fraud attempts, about tracing the connections between Blake and Kevin, about the cancelled insurance. With each revelation, Daniel's expression grew more horrified. He was going to kill you. For money. For a house. Yes. And he almost killed me too. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then, I ran into the house because I thought you were inside. The text said you were in trouble. And even though I'd been so angry at you, even though I said all those horrible things, when I thought you might die. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't lose you. And I couldn't lose you. That's what parents do, sweetheart. We protect our children. Even when they're angry at us. Even when they say they hate us. Because love doesn't go away just because things get hard. He hugged me then, really hugged me for the first time in weeks. And I held my son and let myself finally break down and cry. The legal aftermath took months to untangle. Kevin was charged with attempted murder, arson conspiracy, fraud, and a host of other crimes. Blake took a plea deal in exchange for testifying against Kevin. He'd get 5 years for the arson, but he'd be out in 3 with good behavior. The investigation uncovered even more of Kevin's scheme. He'd been planning this for over a year, starting with befriending Blake when Blake was struggling with gambling debts. He'd used Blake's access to the school to get close to Daniel, to plant the seeds of doubt. The forged insurance cancellation. The attempts to access my bank accounts. The fake county records clerk who'd gotten copies of all my divorce documents. It had all been Kevin, building his case, setting the stage. And my lawyer, Janet, discovered something else. Kevin had been drowning in debt from a failed business venture. He'd been desperate for money, willing to do anything to get it. Even kill the mother of his child. But here was the twist that changed everything. The second week after the fire, while going through salvaged items from the house, I found something in a fireproof box in my bedroom closet. Something I'd forgotten about. My grandmother's will. Not the main will that had been filed with probate court. This was an amendment, dated 2 weeks before she died, handwritten and witnessed by her lawyer and her nurse. In it she changed the inheritance terms. The house was left to me, yes. But with a specific provision. If anything happened to me before Daniel turned 25, the house was to be sold and the proceeds placed in a trust that only Daniel could access, managed by an independent trustee she'd named. Kevin could never have touched it. All his planning, all his manipulation, the attempted murder, it had all been for nothing. Even if he'd succeeded, even if I'd died and he'd gotten custody of Daniel, he would never have been able to access the money. I laughed when I found it. Actually laughed. My grandmother, who'd never trusted Kevin even before he showed his true colors, had protected us from beyond the grave. When I showed the document to Detective Hayes, he shook his head in amazement. Your grandmother was a smart woman. She always said to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Mrs. Mitchell, I have to ask, why didn't you know about this amendment? She must have done it right at the end. She was pretty sick by then. I knew she'd made me executor of her main will, but she must have wanted this provision to be a surprise. A safety net I didn't know I had. That document became a key piece of evidence at Kevin's trial. It proved premeditation, showed that he'd been working on a plan that was doomed from the start if he'd only done his due diligence. The jury took less than 4 hours to convict him on all counts. He got 35 years. Now, 6 months later, Daniel and I are living in a rental house while ours is being renovated. The insurance company, faced with overwhelming evidence of fraud, reversed the cancellation and paid out the fire damage claim in full. Daniel sees a therapist twice a week. Dr. Reeves specializes in helping teenagers who've been victims of manipulation and abuse. Slow progress, but it's progress. He's also been working with Mrs. Patterson after school, catching up on the schoolwork he fell behind on during those dark months. His grades are improving. The anger is fading. But the real healing came last week, during one of our therapy sessions. Dr. Reeves had suggested I join, and I'd nervously agreed. Daniel looked at me across the office and said, "I wrote you a letter. Dr. Reeves said I should read it to you." My heart hammered. "Okay." He pulled out a folded piece of paper, his hand shaking slightly. Then he read, "Dear Mom, I'm writing this because Dr. Reeves says I need to say things out loud, not just in my head. So here goes. I'm sorry for believing Dad over you. I'm sorry for all the mean things I said. I'm sorry I made you feel like you'd lost me. But I also need you to know something. When I thought you were in that burning house, I didn't even think. I just ran inside. Because even when I was angry, even when Dad had convinced me you were the enemy, some part of me knew the truth. You're my mom. You've always been there for me. You worked 2 jobs when I was little so I could have the things I needed. You sat up with me when I had nightmares. You taught me to ride a bike and make scrambled eggs and stand up for myself. Dad gave me nothing but lies. You gave me everything. I know it's going to take time for me to fully trust myself again. To believe that I can make good choices after I made such bad ones. But I need you to know that I love you. I never stopped loving you, even when I said I did. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for running into that fire. Thank you for being my mom. Love, Daniel." By the time he finished, we were both crying. Dr. Reeves discreetly left the room to give us privacy. I crossed to my son and hugged him tight. "I would run into 1,000 fires for you. That's what love means." "I know that now," he whispered. "I finally know." Today is Daniel's 14th birthday. We're having a small party at the rental house. Just Rachel, Mrs. Patterson, Tyler and his parents, who turned out to be wonderful people, and a few other friends from school. There's a chocolate cake on the counter that Daniel and I made together last night, laughing when we accidentally got frosting all over the kitchen. There are balloons and decorations. Normal things. Happy things. As I watch Daniel blow out his candles, surrounded by people who genuinely care about him, I think about everything we've survived. The manipulation. The betrayal. The fire. But we're still here. We're still together. And we're stronger than we were before. After the party, as we're cleaning up, Daniel turns to me. "Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you hate me? When I was being so awful to you, why didn't you just give up?" I put down the dish I was washing and looked at my son. Because love doesn't work like that. Real love, parent love, isn't conditional. It doesn't go away when things get hard. You're my child. You could push me away 1,000 times and I'd still come back. That's what family means. He nods slowly. I used to think family was just about blood. That Dad was family because he was my father. But he tried to kill us both for money. Blood doesn't make family, Daniel. Love makes family. Loyalty makes family. Being there when things are terrible makes family. And sometimes, family is a teacher who cares enough to show a concerned mother her student's notebook. Or a friend who lets you use her guest room with no questions asked. Or a kid brave enough to call a stranger's mother when he's worried about his friend. Or a mom who runs into a burning building, Daniel adds quietly. Or that. We finish cleaning in comfortable silence. And when we're done, Daniel pulls out his phone. Tyler texted. He wants to know if I can come to the movies with him and some guys on Saturday. That sounds fun. What movie? Some superhero thing. I don't know if it's any good. Want me to drive you? He pauses then smiles. Actually, yeah. That would be good. It's a small thing. Letting me drive him to see his friends. But it's also huge. It's trust rebuilding brick by brick. That night, after Daniel goes to bed, I sit on the back porch of our rental house and look up at the stars. My phone buzzes with a text from Janet. Court date is set for the property deed restoration. Judge reviewed the evidence. It's just a formality now. The house is legally yours, free and clear. Kevin has no claim. I text back. Thank you. For everything. You're welcome. You're one of the bravest women I know. Not everyone would have fought like you did. But I didn't have a choice. When it's your child, when it's your life, you fight. You fight with everything you have. Another text comes through, this one from Detective Hayes. Got word that Blake Hoffman's parole hearing is scheduled for 2027. Thought you'd want to know. He's been a model prisoner apparently. Been writing to Daniel. But the prison officials hold the letters per your request. I'd requested that any correspondence from Blake be held, not delivered. Daniel wasn't ready to hear from his former teacher, the man who'd helped almost kill us. Maybe someday he would be. But not now. I text back. Thank you for letting me know. Then I set down my phone and just breathe. Just exist in this moment of peace. We survived. That's what matters. 3 months later, we moved back into our renovated house. The kitchen is brand new, the smoke damage repaired, the rooms repainted. It looks different, but it's still home. On our first night back, Daniel and I ordered pizza and ate it sitting on the living room floor, surrounded by unpacked boxes. It feels weird being back, Daniel admitted. Like that night is still here somehow. That night made us who we are now, I said carefully. It's part of our story. But it's not the end of our story. We get to write what comes next. He thought about that. I like that. We get to write what comes next. So what do you want to write? I don't know. Normal stuff, I guess. Cool. Friends. Maybe I'll try out for soccer again in the spring. That sounds good. And I want to be better, he added quietly. I want to be the kind of person who thinks before they believe everything they're told. Who questions things. Who doesn't let someone else tell them what to think. You're already becoming that person. Every day, you're becoming that person. Now, as I write this. Yes, I'm writing this story down because Dr. Reeves suggested it might help me process everything. I think about the lessons I've learned. I learned that manipulation can happen to anyone, even smart, careful people. Kevin didn't succeed because Daniel was stupid or weak. He succeeded because he was patient, calculated, and willing to exploit a child's natural desire to know his father. I learned that asking for help isn't weakness. Going to Mrs. Patterson, to Janet, to Detective Hayes, those weren't failures. They were the smartest things I could have done. I learned that trust, once broken, can be rebuilt. Takes time. Takes patience. But it's possible. Daniel and I are proof. And I learned that a mother's love is the most powerful force in the world. It will make you run into burning buildings. It will make you stand up to people who want to hurt you. It will give you strength you didn't know you had. If you're watching this video, if you've listened to my story, I want you to take away one thing. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, when someone's behavior doesn't add up, when you feel like you're being manipulated, trust that feeling. Investigate. Ask questions. Don't let anyone convince you that your concerns are paranoia or overreaction. If I hadn't listened to that voice telling me something was very wrong, Daniel and I might not be here today. And if you're a parent whose child has been turned against you, know this. Don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep loving. Keep being present. The truth has a way of revealing itself, and when it does, your child will need you to still be there. Daniel needed me to still be there, even when he was pushing me away. So I stayed. And when the fire came, literally and figuratively, I ran toward him, not away. That's what real love does. If you found this story helpful, if it resonated with you, please consider subscribing to this channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, you're stronger than you think. You're braver than you know. And you're not alone. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And to Daniel, if you ever watch this, I love you. I'll always love you. No matter what.